What up, nation? Welcome to another WiseTake NBA DFS Wise stream. CK013 here, back on the primary YouTube channel. By the way, you can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Back on the primary YouTube channel. YouTube finally approved all of our appeals. There was a bunch of them. Took them some time, but they finally did it. So for the time being, we are back. We still have that secondary channel, WiseTake DFS, which we recommend you guys all subscribe to just in case. Because YouTube's been a little finicky with us lately for really no reason. But whatever the case may be, glad to be back. And for those of you who haven't been watching because you're subscribed to the primary channel only, we've been doing the content. We're always going to do the content. We'll find a way to do the content. That's why it's so important you follow us on all the social media platforms and everything else. Yesterday was a really wacky slate. From start to finish, I had like 100% Jeff Teague and actually had a decent night. I didn't win anything significant, but to me, to have 100% of a player that's really chalky and bust that you're overweight on, any kind of profit's good. And so I'm with it. We've got a 3-game slate today. Real quick, those of you watching, if you could please hit that like button. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. And again, follow us on all the social media platforms. And please hit the like button. Likes allow us to continue to do the content we do, and we like to do it. So they go a long way. Hook us up. Hit the thumbs up. We got a 3-game slate, as I was saying before. We got some injury news that's pretty important, right? We've got Anthony Davis is questionable. We've got CJ McCollum, who's questionable. That's 2 out of the 3 games that we have. We do have some of the news, so I guess we could be grateful for some of it. But yeah, there's a lot going on. Considering it's 3-game slate. With that said, let's go ahead and get started and go game by game as we always do. I think the second 2 games, I believe, are televised. The Washington-Cleveland game. Now, what's interesting about this slate is all the totals are around the same. Washington and Cleveland have the highest at 230.5, but the Lakers-Brooklyn is 229.5. Dallas-Portland 229. So it's kind of weird. Starting with the Wizards, we talked about their total. Cleveland is 2.5-point home favorites in this game. The Wizards did travel last night they are on a back end of a back-to-back with overtime. They went to overtime with the Miami Heat. And like they're getting players back. This is not the ideal scenario, I think, when you're dealing with a bunch of players who may or may not have some sort of minute restriction or workload limitation, because a lot of these players just came back, like Davis Bertans, Bradley Beal. So as DFS players, it kind of leaves us hanging a little bit, right? You're going to have to guess. It's hard enough to guess with teams that play for rotations. Having to guess in this scenario, especially considering yesterday we don't even have a solid sample to see what they were going to do because the game did go to overtime. But this figures to be one of the better games. I mean, all 3 of the games are really good. Like I said, the totals are all around the same place. So with that said, we will start with Washington. These projections you see on the screen are the WiseTake Nation projections. You can get them at wisetake.com with a WiseTake Nation subscription. Day passes, if you want it for a day, you can get them. They don't look like this. This is just a sheet that I make for a visual to go through with FanDuel and DraftKings. But the actual numbers, the actual projections are from ours, the ones I use, the ones I make. Go get them, upload them into the optimizer of your choice, whatever the case may be. All right, with that said, let's take a look and see what we've done. I gave Bertans about 28 minutes. He played 32 last night, but it was overtime, and they've been like using him somewhat softly. And also, even if he was fully healthy, there doesn't seem to be a lock that he would get the full minutes. They're still playing like hot hand-ish from what I've seen if you go through his game logs. But I do think at 4,500 on FanDuel, he's kind of a strong value play. And on DraftKings at 5K, assuming he is playing, which we should know is the first game. I say that I don't expect, not that I'm expecting anyone to sit, but because everybody's coming back from injury, I'm a little skeptical. Overtime game last night, everything. So again, that makes this team a little tougher to predict. But Bertans, especially on FanDuel, is kind of interesting. Bradley Beal did well yesterday. I was over the field on him, and that helped. I did lower him ultimately, removed him from my core once all the value opened up, but I did still have a decent amount of him. He's 7-7 on DraftKings, 75 on FanDuel. This is obviously a really low price for Bradley Beal still. Beal played 38 minutes last night, in overtime. You figure 5 minutes for overtime. So it seemed like he was going to play around 33, which is what we initially had him projected for. And I would think he's going to get something similar. It's a really good matchup. Again, he's just coming back from injury. I think he played 33 or 32 the game before. And before that, he played a couple like 27s, 28s. So it's a back-to-back. He's had an issue probably that came from him just being overworked. So we'll see. But the matchup is soft against Cleveland, right? The spot is fine. That's not an issue. And the price is really low on Bradley Beal. So if you want to take shots on a 3-game slate, you want to grab some, I think it makes sense. And the way he projects you probably will end up, if you use ours as of right now, you probably will end up with a decent amount of them. McRae, another one of those wild card calls. Minutes have been a little inconsistent. If Brad Beal were to get ruled out, McRae would become the best play on the slate, but that's a big if. Again, there's nothing, I haven't heard anything that they're going to do that, just talking about potential scenarios. But McRae is nothing more than a dart in the meantime because, again, it's hard to gauge his minutes. This is a great matchup in terms of resistance, right? It's just not sure how many minutes he's actually going to get. 25, probably a median. Well, not probably, it is. It's kind of a median of what he's played lately. Mahinmi, we do know that, what's his name? Pazankagis, whatever his name is back, that's going to affect Mahinmi's minutes. Bryant is on a limit regardless. And I don't anticipate Bryant playing too much more, especially on a back-to-back. He's another one that could potentially be rested, although by now I would think we would have heard of all that shit by now. So with that said, I'm not terribly interested in Mahinmi. We had to project him somewhat low minutes-wise because with, again, whatever his name back, they will play him. He's going to be on a minutes limit, but still, that's like with Bryant there being the guy they prefer to play, they just can't play him a lot. It kind of, Mahinmi's getting leftovers between whatever that guy's limitation is and after Bryant. Ish is kind of interesting. I don't mind Ish. I wanted to project him for a little more minutes-wise, but it's hard to do it. Him and Isaiah Thomas are splitting the point guard minutes, and it's somewhat equal. Ish has the lead. Like, Ish is getting more of it. Ish is closing more often. And it's a great matchup for guards against Cleveland. It's just, again, it's hard to project Ish. Like, even if we go 28, that'll help on a 3-game slate. I'm tempted, but we need a little bit of news to do something like that. So I got my eye on Washington just in case. But in the meantime, it's kind of hard to gauge. It's really just Bradley Beal, again, just like yesterday. And I think that Isaiah Thomas, like, you'll probably get some of, especially if you're trying to get Luka. Unless better value opens up, he's just so cheap. He's been terrible, like awful. It doesn't seem to be in the best, relationship with his coach at the moment. Maybe that's just a bad read, but he is extremely cheap. So there's not a ton of value. We're gonna go over it. There could be a decent amount, could be, but we gotta see. Let's go down to Cleveland. All right. So Tristan Thompson on FanDuel is ridiculously priced. Now, the dilemma you have on FanDuel is that Whiteside is also center. You only get one center, and Whiteside is in a smash spot. Whiteside is extremely expensive on FanDuel. I think he's like 9.5 or something like that. But keep in mind that, like, Whiteside with the blocks has just like a massive ceiling over there. I mean, on DraftKings, the ceiling's not that far off, but on DraftKings, you're banking more on the double-double, the potential triple-double. On FanDuel, we've seen him triple-double with steals before, and it's just, pretty wild. But with that said, Thompson at 5'9" against Washington is extremely cheap, just really, really cheap. They're home. Thompson's been playing good minutes. Cleveland's rotation has been really tight. So, yeah, I mean, Thompson and Love both on FanDuel look like phenomenal options. On DraftKings, you're going to get some. Right, like we want some for sure, but not. I don't know if either of them necessarily fit optimally in terms of optimal builds over there. On FanDuel, you could argue that it does. The only reason that you'd be hesitant on Thompson is that you can't play Whiteside if you do that. So, curious to see how people handle that. But it's a really good spot, right? Washington. I think Thompson went for like 47 or 50 earlier against Washington, and again, just super cheap. The good thing on FanDuel is Jared Allen is power forward eligible, so you don't have to worry about that, who we'll talk about in the next game. But him and Kevin Love, I mean, I like them both on DraftKings more as tournament options. On FanDuel, they just look like really good plays. Colin Sexton is going to play a lot of minutes. We haven't projected for a lot of minutes. It's probably really like 36.5 or so, rounding up to 37. But the matchup's going to be relatively soft, especially when IT2's on the court. And again, they're playing tighter rotations. Brandon Knight is out again. Still missing Porter. So I do think he's going to play a lot of minutes on a 3-game slate. You probably will end up with some, or should. The problem is you got 3 guys above him. Well, on DraftKings, you do, and LeBron, Dame, and Luka, and Kyrie. Really, I guess 4 guys who we're waiting on news for that could impact a couple of these dudes, and it makes Sexton a little less appealing when you consider ceilings. You compare his ceiling to those guys' ceiling, and you're not saving a whole ton. I mean, you're saving money, but it's not like Sexton as a value play is 6,500. But I do think getting some exposure is fine, for sure. Garland, similar situation, probably more so on FanDuel. I like him better on FanDuel over there, but it's an option. Larry Nance, if you want to take a chance on for low ownership, he has been playing around 25 minutes a game. And again, this is a good matchup for bigs. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on this heavy. It's just an option. But, yeah, Thompson and Love are the main guys for me here on both sites, but especially FanDuel. No doubt. No doubt about it. You know. Shout out to the nation. Let's keep things rolling. If you're just joining us, please hit that like button. Likes go a long way. Much appreciated. Let's go to the next game. We've got the Lakers and the Nets. This one, as of right now, this one seems to be my favorite game. But we're waiting on news. 229.5 total. So technically, it's the second highest. Again, they're all really tight. All within a 1.5 as of right now. The Lakers opened up a 6-point favorite, so now to -5. They've been on the East Coast. They got blown out against Boston. They beat the Knicks, but it was a very close game down to the end. And now they have to play Brooklyn, who's obviously better than the Knicks on a back-to-back. Anthony Davis is questionable. That news, obviously, the most important in this game. Either way, LeBron James projects well. We got him at around 35.5, rounding up to 36. Just based off the matchup and the predicted pace of the game, LeBron does look like a pretty solid option. Dwight Howard, man, as of right now, Dwight Howard. I mean, Anthony Davis is obviously the next best play if he's in. Now he's been somewhat limited. He hurt his ass, and so he's been on this weird soft minute limit thing. It's a back-to-back. He's questionable. We'll see. We'll have to see. If he's in, though, he's in a phenomenal spot. At 9,500 on DraftKings. The 33, maybe we give him another half a point, which would help you get more of him. I'm sorry, half a minute, which would help you get more of him. Which I think is definitely viable if he's in. Just because you got to factor in that the matchup is so soft for him. Remember Brooklyn, and we'll talk about them in a second, but Jared Allen's the only big that they have. So they're going to be in trouble against the Lakers, I would think. JaVale McGee, an interesting value play. Not sure if we get there right now. If AD plays, probably not. If AD's out, I think we do get some. And more importantly, I think we get a lot more Dwight Howard. We're already getting some. This is a phenomenal spot for Howard, who's averaged around, let's say, 25 minutes or so. So we still have him on a conservative projection. If Anthony Davis were to get ruled out, I'd feel way more comfortable bumping those minutes up at least to 24 and a half or so, which would be enough to really make him pop on DraftKings and probably on FanDuel, except you have Tristan Thompson, you have WiseTake, you have decisions you got to make. But on two center sites or multiple center sites, Howard's going to be a guy that we're probably going to want to target against Brooklyn. And again, we don't want to ignore JaVale McGee either. If Anthony Davis is out, Kyle Kuzma becomes a really strong value option. 4,600 on DraftKings, 48 on FanDuel. We would expect him to start. We know he's aggressive offensively. And the matchup would be against Taurean Prince, which is just dope. Rajon Rondo, ironically enough, not projecting terribly if you really wanted to get down and dirty. We know he's got the upside to get you a 25 or maybe even a 30 in limited minutes. It just seems to be a little more rare these days. But it's really like LeBron, who would become an even better play, obviously, if Anthony Davis was ruled out, but is already looking like a decent option. One of the better studs. He projects to be one of the better studs for us. That's obviously due to the minutes. Let's see what we got him for. I'm assuming it's at 35 and a half. Yeah, we got him at 35 and a half. Well, now we do. But still, he projects to be one of the better studs, the way things stand. Anthony Davis, LeBron are the main two. If AD is ruled out, though, we're going to want a lot of Lakers. And the way it's set up now, we already want a lot of Nets, at least I think, according to projections, our projections. So Lakers is a situation that we're going to want to keep an eye on for sure. Hopefully we do get that news. I mean, we'll see. It's, what is it? It's an hour after lock, so we should be we should be getting it probably right around the time of lock. So that'll be fun if you play on FanDuel. That'll be a lot of fun. On DraftKings, a little less pressure as you'll have the ability to late swap when you get the information, but you still gotta settle on your exposures to that first game. So with all the injury news, I wonder if the first game is going to be a little bit more popular. I almost expected to on FanDuel just because of the pricing, at least of those two Cavs. But we'll see. Going over to the Nets. As of right now, they seem to be the team that the projections are pushing us towards. Jared Allen, we got him at 32 minutes, which is probably, which may be conservative. It's possible that Brooklyn just sucks it up and just lets the bigs of the Lakers destroy them, I guess. But no Claxton, who's been playing backup center. No DeAndre Jordan. I just didn't really know what to do. I mean, who is going to play backup center? I have no idea. As I look through this, I have no idea. So that makes me think that Allen's going to play a lot. Now, his price is low. He's got like on a typical day, he's got I would say a bad floor, right? So I don't want to project him for like 33, 34 minutes, even though I think he may play that because he's already projecting to be one of the top play on the slate, as you can see. But in reality, like 32 was more conservative. I think he at least play that. I think he will at least play 32. Does he perform? Because the matchup is not the greatest. Like against McGee, I'm not so worried. But when Dwight comes in and if Anthony Davis is in, they're a little more crowded down low, and it's going to make things more difficult for a guy like Jared Allen, who's not exactly a dominator. But obviously on FanDuel and DraftKings, like with no backup, it doesn't matter. I mean, he projects to be, like I said, one of the top plays on the slate. So it is what it is. And I have a lot. Spencer Dinwiddie is interesting. I like him a little more for tournaments, obviously. On FanDuel, they're tempting you with the price. He's been playing the minutes. Now, the problem is with Karis LeVert lingering. Like, you don't really know who it's gonna take away from him. If he gets hot, like I would think that they may end up taking it away from one of these guys because of the size of this team. But Dinwiddie played 35 minutes in the game without Kyrie, 27 against Milwaukee. I believe that was with Kyrie. Oh, I think his team got beat up. Yeah, his team got destroyed that day. It's tough. What do we have him for right now? 33? Maybe that's a little aggressive. It's probably 32 and a half, actually, now that I think about it. I think I remember setting that, actually. 32 and a half. Say we knock him back down. So say we knock off half a minute and see. Because maybe it is a little too aggressive considering that they all are healthy. Because, like, they're missing bodies, but they're missing, like, the backup center. Right? Both of them. So we'll see. I think that's updating. Yeah, it makes a little more. It made a little bit of a difference, so we'll see. Kyrie Irving is probably my favorite play on the slate. Jared Allen is the easier price, but Kyrie seems underpriced just as much for the situation. I mean, he's playing around. We saw him play 37 in a game recently. I projected him for around 34. Even 33 and a half, if you want to go a little conservative, is fine. But he's still going to project well. He's such a high point per minute player. The usage is incredible. He's got some narrative action going with LeBron, right? His buddy. Well, not really his buddy. It was his enemy. But apparently he apologized. You know the whole thing. He apologized last year, all that shit. 8,400 on DraftKings is definitely too cheap. I think 87 on FanDuel is too cheap. But 84 on DraftKings is definitely too cheap. He may end up, I'm sure he's going to be popular at those prices because anybody that projects him for any regular minutes, I say regular minutes, I know he's got a hamstring injury he's dealing with. That's why he missed the last game. So there is a possibility that they do limit him somewhat. In that case, you would expect Dinwiddie to see a little bit of a boost, maybe Karis LeVert to see a little bit of a boost. And they're already good plays. With that said, you can see a lot of the Nets are popping. Joe Harris, value option on DraftKings, projected for almost 6x. He's got a very low floor. But again, it's a guy that we anticipate playing a lot of minutes. He's very cheap. On DraftKings, you get extra points for the 3 points. So he's a value play I'll have some of. I think Taurean Prince is probably worth looking at also. This could be a situation where he's asked to play a lot of minutes. The more I think about it, the more that I really hope AD's out. It's just going to make it easier to come in here and because I think about like wanting to play Taurean Prince against like What's his name? Anthony Davis. It's scary. Taurean Prince against Anthony Davis. That's just. So I kind of hope he's out, and then I'll feel more comfortable playing guys. I don't mind taking Taurean Prince against Kuzma. I don't mind. I mean, foul trouble's, it is what it is. It happens to him sometimes. Karis LeVert, maybe we're a little soft on his pricing. He balled out in the last game, of course, with Kyrie out. Before that, he really hasn't done a whole ton, but you got to think at some point the plan is to play him more. I mean, he's clearly, like Kyrie, you got number one, and then Dinwiddie and LeVert, as far as actual talent, like they're both pretty good, right? Like I think people recency bias might have people picking Dinwiddie over him, but I think it's real close regardless. So again, a lot of nets. I'm gonna end up with a lot of nets. You can see it. And their projection ain't gonna change much, right? As far as like we know the situation unless somebody else gets ruled out. Whereas the other situations could get a little bit better, like the Lakers, like the next team we'll talk about, the Trailblazers. So we'll have to see. Last game, and then we will sign off for a little bit. Well, we won't sign off. We'll just put you on hold. I got a new hold screen with a little background music, so it's not so awkward while you sit in silence. I do it for the nation. What can I say? Please hit the like button, guys. Please hit the like button. And right after this game, we will go over, we'll bring Paulie D on, go over optimal builds, and start actually doing the dirty. That's what we'll do. All right. Last game. Dallas Mavericks, Portland Trailblazers. 229 total, which is the lowest again. Very, very tight today. Dallas minus 4.5 on the road. So on FanDuel, I mean, DFS is going to play a lot of minutes. He's just not exciting. Kleber, I mean, here's the situation with these guys. Powell's out for the season. Not that he was a huge usage guy, but he was playing minutes, and that's going to open up minutes, you would think. Kristaps Porzingis he's missed a good amount of time. I think he played 27 minutes the other night or something like that. So I'm just he came back, played a little bit, didn't play. Played again, but only for 20. So I find it hard to believe that they're just going to throw 33 minutes at him, and that makes it tough for us to project him. The matchup is really good. There's a little bit of narrative. He's playing against his boy Melo. They played together with the Knicks for a while when he was rookie in his first few years. But the price it's kind of tough. He's at the same price of Kevin Love, and you're talking about Kevin Love getting 34, 35 minutes in a very soft matchup compared to Porzingis getting 27 to 31 if you're lucky. 31 is more hopeful at this point. It's just somebody's got to play the minutes because they're missing. So Maxi Kleber, you figure, is going to play some minutes. So that's what makes him interesting, right? And they got Whiteside on the other side, so they kind of do need the center. And that's what led me to believe that Boban's got to play at least a little. I would think Boban would play a little. Maybe 16 is too aggressive, but I'm playing at least a little bit of Boban. Maybe they go small. I talked in a Slack chat with Huey. Huey was saying that he thinks Dallas is going to try to go small, which is definitely a possibility. If that happens, they're just going to give it up to Whiteside. Whiteside is going to smash regardless, I would think. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, in the meantime, Whiteside's not a good defender either. So whoever does get the minutes does have opportunity. If they can stay out of foul trouble, he's just a really big dude. And again, with Boban, you want to go big. We could play big if you want to play big with Boban. So on FanDuel at 5K, that's probably way too aggressive of an ask. It's probably not doing enough for you. On 3,900 on FanDuel, I know there's other centers, but it's really if you just needed it, I guess. Because otherwise, you already got Jared Allen, who's center eligible on DraftKings. You've got Whiteside at the top. You got Howard, JaVale McGee, who could become even better if AD's ruled out. There's just a lot going on, Luka, I'm always good with, right? We can always play Luka. I think we could all agree with that. Just a matter of, can you comfortably reach him? Is there enough value for you to reach him? And at this time, I don't know that there is. I'm going to have some. I'm not going to play a 3-game slate and fade Luka completely. But I'm hoping that we get something. If AD is ruled out, maybe that's enough of the value that we can get between everybody else to stick it together and find a way to play Luka more. But the value right now that we're looking at doesn't make you feel all that great, Tim Hardaway Jr. actually projects really well for us on DraftKings. I was hoping that wasn't true. But, I mean, again, we got him at 30, and I think that's a pretty safe projection, especially with Porzingis being somewhat limited and the fact that they need to use an extra body on the court in some way to help fill the void with Powell out. So unfortunately, I don't find myself getting much on FanDuel at 5.5, but 47 on DraftKings. Unfortunately, I did find myself getting a little bit. As far as the Portland side, Trevor Ariza should be pretty popular on DraftKings. Projects for 6.1. We already heard he's going to start. I put him in for 30. I'm assuming he's going to play around 30. The coach already said he's waiting for him to start. This ain't like baseball, waiting for him to get stretched out. Or he's been playing for Sacramento. Damian Lillard's price is extremely expensive. But with CJ McCollum out, we saw the ceiling and the upside he's got. I still don't. I'm gonna play some Dame obviously if McCollum's out. If McCollum's in, I think it's too expensive. Like Kyrie's my favorite guard as of right now, and I don't think that's gonna change too much. So I don't know how much Dame I actually get to, but I will acknowledge if McCollum is out, he's a great play. I don't think McCollum's gonna play, to be honest. If he's in, I'm interested in it a little bit, but from what I understand, he didn't practice. He did some drills after practice, but he didn't practice with the team. So it makes me think maybe he's not ready. With Trevor Ariza back, that's going to impact how much Hazonia, Little, Simons, all these guys is going to impact how much they play. Maybe not Little, because Little I think is playing some backup center at the moment. But Gary Trent and Simons were both playing together a lot. I think that changes now with Ariza there. They're going to have to rotate if McCollum's out. Either way, they'll see minute increases. Right now, we have the projections as if McCollum is in, so we'll have to come back and check. We'd obviously raise Dame up to around 40 minutes or so, and maybe that would change his projection. And again, I'll rock with it because I'm fine with it against Dallas. But Hassan Whiteside looking to be the top player, Ariza being one of the better value plays, or one of the top value plays, at least more popular value plays on DraftKings. That's going to do it for part one of the NBA Wise Stream. Don't go nowhere. We are not, signing off. We're going to keep the channel running. I got a little pause screen for you, a little bit better. Kind of like put y'all on hold with some background music and something so you're not just in the dark, stuck all alone, looking all weird. Let's see. David Toy says Dame is a trap. Levert the best value. I saw a lot of people liking Levert. I think MG in the Slack chat liked Levert a lot today as well. I think it was one of his favorite players. Chandler's a possibility as well. Listen, Chandler. Just checking over the chat now. You can get a chance to see that ish. Sevens all day. See a lot of sevens. All right, so I'm gonna put y'all on pause real quick. Don't go nowhere. We're just gonna get Paulie on, set up for the next one, and we'll be right back. Well, damn. Well, chat's telling me they didn't hear any music. I can't play no Pac stacks. You know that, bro. I can't play nothing like that on YouTube. Shit, we just got on YouTube, and this motherfucker's asking us to play some Tupac and shit. Copyright ass. Man, can't guys don't understand the game. No understanding. But for real, you guys didn't hear any wait music while we were doing it? That sucks, because I set that up today. Thought I was doing something dirty for the nation. Paulie D, what's happening?
What's up?
None, man. You know, it's another day, another dollar, 3-game slate.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
NBA dick cocked us this week.
Yeah, they definitely decocked us with the schedule. The whole schedule was out of whack. I'm still recovering from that holiday, that Martin Luther King Day. That was just was crazy. And then to have just 2 days later to have yesterday's shit show after a 1-game slate was just insane. I mean, I profited. It was still a shit show. It was still a very stressful process. I had a decent day. It still doesn't matter. Stressful process. Everything about that slate was stressful, including the show yesterday that we did. But say what's up to the YouTube nation, because we are back on the main channel on YouTube. Back on the main channel.
That's right.
Holla for $1. I will be bringing back the Core 4 videos, by the way, those of you who are subscribed. So you guys can hit the like button, hook it up. We'll provide you with more of that fire content on the YouTube machine, the Twitch machine, the Periscope, everything. Paulie, give me your overall thoughts on the slate.
Not very exciting. 3 games. There's a bunch of high-end guards that are all kind of interesting to me. I think it's one of those stars and scrubs, and like take shots on scrubs that people aren't really thinking about. Play a lot of Boban today, and call it a day.
Thug life, man. Just first or last Ricky Bobby. I feel you. I mean, it's a 3-game slate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is what it is.
I don't really see like enough guys in the mid tier to like a balanced lineup winning. So like, the right combination of the high end studs, whether it's Dame, Kyrie, LeBron, Luka, Hassan Whiteside, the right 3 of those in a lineup, and whatever you got to do to make it fit. There's a couple underpriced guys that are value, like Karis LeVert really pops off to me. I don't understand why he's not projecting better in some of these models, but he looks like the best. So that's where I'm at.
Well, let me ask you a question about LeVert. Now I know we're missing some bodies, but we're missing bodies on like the bigs, right? Karis LeVert played 29 minutes against Philly and played well, but that was the most he's played in a long time, and the reason he played that much was because Kyrie Irving was out. Do you think that because he reached that 29, it's more of like he came back from an injury, and so they were easing him back up to that point, and now they're ready to play him that 29? Or do you think Kyrie's back, that 29 is done? Because before that, he was playing 25, 23, 26, 22, and that's why some places don't have him projected well, is because the minutes. How many minutes are you really projecting him for? We have him at a decent place. We have him around, I put him at 27. But that's kind of like, it's not too aggressive, but it's not that, conservative either. So it's more like if we want to be aggressive, we move that to 28. But do we really think he's going to play that threshold?
Yeah, I think he'll play about 32 minutes.
About 32?
I think he takes like the next jump up.
So
now.
So you think this has been more of like like an injury thing, like more of like a ease him back in kind of thing?
Yeah,
that's what it should be ultimately, right? Like he's the
thumb injury,
But you can see that
they've just always been cautious with. Yeah, they've always been cautious with him. So
that's my point. Is what makes you think they won't be today?
Because now it's been 7 games, right? And they're shorthanded. I think it's just time to. It's actually been 8 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 games. This is the 9th, I think. And they've progressed up. The usage has been phenomenal. Always above 25, except the 123. So yeah, I think he plays 32. Like, this game's supposed to be close according to Vegas, and I mean the only way I see the Nets really keeping it close is with him doing the dirt.
Holla. I'm with you. I'm going to bump his minutes up then. We'll go up to 28 and a half. Get him some popping action. With that said, let's go over like the studs that you do like. I know you want to get as many of these guys as you can. You want to work in some of the value, and I know you didn't like the mid tier that much, so maybe I'll ask you about a few guys. But let's start off with talking about the studs you like the most and why. So,
Yeah. So CJ McCollum is sort of a big deal, right? Like, I don't think he's playing, but
he
I
just
don't
got
have
ruled
any.
out, by the
Like,
way.
oh, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Oh,
just
great,
happened.
awesome. All right, boom. So yeah, so Dame Lillard is the best stud on the slate, I would say, at his price. Luka probably right behind that, and then like Kyrie and LeBron not far off. Has AD been ruled on by any chance?
No, AD has not been ruled on.
Okay. I think he's playing, um, although they did just play yesterday, and maybe they don't want to run him on a back-to-back with the dirty butt. So we'll see. That would certainly boost LeBron over Kyrie, in my opinion. But Dame, I mean, he went for 60 in that last game with no McCollum. He was
He went
taking
for 90. Oh, I mean 60 actual. Yeah. Okay, my bad.
60 actual points, 61 points. Yeah, like 90. I think it was like 92 DraftKings. I think he took 40 shots or like just under there. So, yeah. I expect the same thing. Fast pace against Dallas, guard matchup, him and Lukovic. And he's, $2,400 cheaper than Luka on DraftKings. So, I like Dame quite a bit. They're playing their starting five, just massive minutes. And I kind of think the same thing's going to happen again here, right? So give me some Dame. I do like Luka. He's a little harder to get to, but like, if, things were equal, he'd be my second favorite player out of the studs. Then, Kyrie and LeBron, somewhat close. I guess Kyrie because he's cheaper. Um, I'll lean towards him slightly, but if AD gets ruled out, I'd bump LeBron over them. Whiteside's in a good spot, although he might get Boban. That's that's it amongst the studs.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Kyrie is my favorite stud today. Even with the McCollum news, like the price on Dame is extremely high at this point. See, we have a little like I think that not that I think the mid tier is strong, but I think there are plays like there's guys that can do it. You know what I mean? The value
Mm-hmm.
pieces are really what worries me more, especially the way the positions line up. So to me, like the price is important. If I like Kyrie because of his price. I mean, just on a projection level, you can project him conservatively for 33, and he's still going to project for around 6x at that price. Like, he's just phenomenal. You got the narrative going up with LeBron. And you mentioned LeVert. I do agree with an extent. Like, this is a game where they're going to have to utilize LeVert. But if Kyrie has a bad game, it's still hard to see this game staying close. So I guess it's interesting because, like, I think I'm agreeing with you in terms of, like, I think the build you're going for, as usual, is going to be more contrarian. Like, I expect Luka to be really low owned. I'm curious to see what
Yeah,
happens with Dame now. I mean, like, part of me is like, oh, people are going to play. I mean, it's a 3-game slate, so everybody's going to get played. But the
yeah,
question is, like, do more people want to play Dame because he's coming off that 90 burger and they're like, no, he's doing that again? Or
yeah.
people like, oh, shit, but now he's 9. No, I can't do it. He's too expensive. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Definitely in that voice they're doing
It's
that.
got to be in that way. It's got to be. There's only one way. Like that wasn't the question. With that said, Paulie, talk to me about the mid tier, bro. And I know you didn't. I don't really look at that much, but who are the guys you're looking at if you
Yeah.
want to go?
Oh, I mean, I think Brad Beal's probably the standout. 7-7, good number, but too low for him. Coming off of 58, I know it went to overtime, but even still, like, I don't think he scored like more than 10 or 12 points in overtime yesterday. So, you're still working with like a 45 at 77, and this is Cleveland. So he stands out. Jared Allen, the only center in town, the only power forward in town for the Nets. So he should get as much minutes as he can handle. Foul trouble may be a concern, especially if AD plays, but he looks pretty nice. I like Davis Bertans quite a bit. He got his shooting touch back yesterday. He was leading 3-point shooter before the injury, and 5K is just too cheap for the usage he gets, and especially on DraftKings with the extra half point. I think Porzingis is kind of interesting up at 8K. Don't love the price, but really good matchup against Portland, who outside of Whiteside doesn't have any size, and Whiteside's a terrible defender. So, I could see him doing well. Carmelo's going to play a lot of minutes. It's about all I can say for him. There's really not a ton. I mean, you mentioned Tristan Thompson me pre-show, and like I'd kind of overlooked him. I don't really love his price on DraftKings, but he's a decent guy. You got those guards from Cleveland, but I don't know. I don't see much in this mid tier outside of Brad Beal and Bertans and Jared Allen.
All day, AD all day. Talk to me about the value guys you like. Now I know like Trevor Ariza is probably going to be one of, if not the most popular player on the slate on DraftKings. Maybe not on FanDuel. On FanDuel, by the way, Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love, it's like 7K and 5.9. It's drastically underpriced over there. On DraftKings, Trevor Ariza is going to be a really popular value play, and he's like what 3,500 over there. We know They already said that they plan on starting him, and I would assume that means they're going to throw him into that rotation and play him heavy as shit too. With that said, if you're trying to play all those studs, then you need a couple other guys that are at least somewhat around his ballpark. But a lot of the value we're looking at is a little higher. Karis LeVert's like 4.9. You could work him in, but you're still going to need a couple guys cheaper than him. Talk to me about your favorite value plays today.
Yeah, so I mean, Karis LeVert's my favorite. Trevor Ariza next. Then Boban. I'm playing a shit ton of Boban. I think it's like guaranteed he gets minutes. He played 16 last game, and that was against a small Clippers team. Portland's not huge, but Hassan is going to get a ton of minutes. And I think he's going to see between 16 and 22 minutes and should just absolutely crush in those minutes at 3.9. He's gone for 25, 29, 28 in his last 3 appearances. Like, I'm playing a shit ton of Boban today, right? Now Dwight Howard becomes extremely appealing at 4.7 with McGee ruled out. Maxi Kleber at 4.9's all right. He should see some minutes as well. If you like Boban for this, because Powell's out, then Maxi kind of fits that build as well. Then there's a whole bunch of guys I'm willing to take shots on. Gary Trent at 3,400. We'll see if he's still in the starting lineup or not. Actually, he didn't even start last game, but he played a lot of minutes. Anthony Simons is still out there. Thomas Bryant, you could take a shot on. What's his name is cheap for the Nets, that Harris dude, the guard. IT2 actually finally had a decent game. You could take some stabs at Troy Brown, take some stabs at Seth Curry. You got all the Laker guards that no one ever wants to play, like Danny Green and Avery Bradley and KCP. You could take shots on. Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably a little too cheap. So, whatever combinations of these guys, Seti Osman you could take a shot at. It is against Washington. So, I think even if they only get you like a 4X, but they allow you to get those higher floor guys like Kyrie and LeBron and Luka, I think that's like the path to success today. With those 3 kind of optimal value plays in Boban and Ariza and LeVert.
Let's talk about centers for a second. So we're talking about both sites, okay? Centers become a little more loaded, especially now with JaVale McGee out. So you got Boban as an example. Boban is probably more of a DraftKings thing, right? He's 3,900 over there. He's 5K on FanDuel. You got Jared Allen is not on FanDuel. It's not a problem. 5K. Yeah. Of all the guys to overprice, right? Like they overprice everybody else, and that's
dirty.
Oh yeah, it's real dirty. That's what FanDuel does. But with that said, on FanDuel, Jared Allen is power forward eligible, so that helps you. But at the end of the day, you only get one center, so you're picking between Whiteside, whose spot seems awesome, Dwight Howard, mentioned Boban, Tristan Thompson's 5,900 over there, and then of course on DraftKings, Boban's giving you the value, but you get 2 of them. But now Jared Allen's only a center only, and you don't have any flexibility. So rank to me the centers, I guess.
Okay, we'll do DK first. Let's go. All right. Boban. Probably Jared Allen. Actually, I'm gonna put Dwight Howard in front of Jared Allen. So I'm gonna put Dwight Howard in front of everybody. Actually, Dwight Howard, Boban, Jared Allen, Whiteside, Thompson.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. Let's talk about Porzingis for a second here until we get something else. We'll do an optimal. We'll go over an optimal build in a second, but the reason I wanted to talk.
You want to do FanDuel?
Oh yeah. Absolutely, go ahead.
All right. Hold on. So Thompson's 5'9". Can't believe Boban's 5K. Dwight Howard is 52. Hassan is 9'6". So I'll go Dwight Howard, Thompson, Hassan, Boban over there.
Boom. 30s and 7. How much Boban you gonna play?
Probably like 40%.
Ooh, that's aggressive as book.
I mean, I need him, and
yeah,
I don't think there's any chance he goes for less than 4x.
Right. Feel you. I agree with you that I do believe he is going to play. Porzingis is only playing he's been on and off injury. They just played him 27, 28 minutes. I don't see him playing more than 30, 31 as a max. And Whiteside is so damn big. And if Whiteside's going to play at least 35, 36, maybe even more. So they're going to have no choice.
Boban may start today.
He may. He very well may. I mean, honestly, he probably should. Just in all seriousness, here's the question: does Boban make you feel any differently? Like if Boban were to get big minutes, do you feel any differently about Luka? Do you feel like he's gonna fuck up with Luka, fuck up with Porzingis? What do you think?
I think he'll fuck up Porzingis. Yeah. I mean, maybe like when he was on the court with Luka, and I was like that one day slate, and I was rooting for my Boban teams, like. He didn't seem to affect Luka. Like Luka was still getting in. Boban's only getting the bounds that come his way. Like he's not jumping across to the other side of the rim to get those. So he didn't really seem to affect Luka in that game. And I think it only kind of helped him because, we got another guy to assist him. Boban's like a 90% field goal percentage.
True that. That'd be true. Let me pull up DraftKings. Let's talk some optimal buildskis here. Do what we do. Let's do what we do. Who's the first guy in for you today in a cash game?
Probably Trevor Ariza.
Yeah. Good call. Next. Jared Allen?
Probably Dame Lillard.
Okay. You'd go Dame.
I guess Jared Allen would be next, yeah.
Or is it safe enough? Well, if Anthony Davis gets ruled out, then I think you prioritize Howard.
Dwight Howard.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Howard better already right now.
Yeah. I do also.
I don't know if ownership follows that, but
I don't think so. I think everybody's going to play Howard, to be honest. I think Allen will be popular, but I think Allen was the guy, and I think Howard just became the guy. That's what I think.
I agree. I mean, I hope not. I hope the field just stays on Allen, but
yeah, that would be nice.
I think we should put Dwight Howard in there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's go with motherfucking Howard up in here, man. I think this is here, man. Shit.
That's bad, but I might play 80% Dwight Howard.
I mean, bro, this is who is gonna stop Dwight Howard?
Yeah.
Who? If AD gets ruled out, I may do it. I may lock button that shit and just go slap happy. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe a naked dude with a long hog in the crowd could stop Dwight Howard. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. So we've got Lillard, Ariza, Howard.
Yeah.
Who's next? If AD is ruled out, then you got to find
Kyrie?
a way for LeBron, right?
LeBron.
But without that, then I guess Kyrie. Right?
Yeah, I would say Kyrie or LeBron. Yeah, one of them two.
Would you feel comfortable enough to play LeVert in cash? He was. I mean, with
I do. Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So let's say hypothetically, I get the
4.9.
yeah.
You know, that's low, but I mean, I do like Davis Bertans, similar price. I don't know. You know, I mean, we're gonna need some more of these dudes. Who's projecting to be popular?
Let's see. I know like Ariza. We know. Looks like maybe Beal. Beal is probably he probably makes sense, especially as I look at this build.
At that price,
Yeah,
yeah.
because dude, we got Dame, Beal, Levert, Ariza, Dwight Howard, Kyrie, and we have 54.50 at forward and utility. That's actually not bad to work with. Like in tournaments, you would find that like a dirt cheap dude, take a shot on, and then load up on that last dude. In a cash game, we can go more balanced if we want. You could put in Bertans, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Bertans, that's 5.9 left for Jared Allen. Boom.
Jared Allen.
Boom. Holla.
That's it. That's your luck. Yeah.
Holla. You know how that goes.
Play that lineup.
Cash games all day. All day. Anthony Davis, talk to me about what you're going to do with him if he's in and if he's out. Because if he's in, he also should benefit from McGee's absence and just from an awesome matchup. Taurean Prince, is that the defense he's going to see? Taurean Prince?
I hope not. I mean, like, is Wilson Chandler going to play more minutes today? Or, like, I don't know. You know, who are they going to play?
I feel like maybe. I mean, he played 20. I don't know why everybody's got him projected for such, like, minuscule minutes. I mean,
he's like 6'7", I believe. I mean, I think LeVert is close to that, but Taurean Prince is like really a 2. You know, he's not a 4.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Shit. Okay, so Dwight Howard will start in place of JaVale McGee. So Howard's starting. Anthony Davis will play. So we got that news. And that was actually the question. My question was, what did you plan on doing with Anthony Davis and all this?
I do like him actually. Like the more I'm thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like McGee does take away a bunch of rebounds and like, you know, it's just like 16 or so 20 minutes that they just lose, and they don't really have like a straight replacement for it. So like,
yeah.
You know, they probably just play AD a little bit more and Howard a lot more.
Yeah, you figure AD played 30 minutes against the Knicks last night. Now you figure, like, you got him and Howard. They're probably going to have to stagger them at least somewhat because AD's probably going to play backup center, I would think, right? Like, to Howard. So Howard becomes an elite play. AD becomes a really good tournament play, especially at 9-5. And regardless, like, what makes Howard even better of a play is I don't necessarily think that AD is going to play, like, more than, like, 33 minutes today. I think he does have a minutes cap. Maybe not a minutes limit, but like the most he'll play is like the 33. So that means anything else that's left over is definitely Dwight Howard, not including the times that he's playing with Dwight Howard. So it makes me like Dwight Howard a whole lot more. Doing dirties and dropping sevens. Thug lifestyle. Yeah, I'm with it, man. What are you doing with Whiteside, bro? You like Boban, we like Allen, we like Howard, we like AD. These are all guys that are center playable. Like what? We're doing Whiteside.
Yeah, I don't have much room for Whiteside, to be honest.
Damn, man. Like, he projects so hard right now, bro.
Yeah.
And long.
I know.
And long. If you had to... So, hypothetically, I'm assuming that, like, Allen... I know you like Allen because we have no choice because of the spot, but I'm assuming Allen would be the least favorite. Like, of the guys you like the most.
Yeah, he is now.
Right? Like, he would be the one you'd probably give the chopping block to at that point.
Yeah.
The hell do I have Whiteside projected for anyway? We got Whiteside. Oh, damn. There's no way. There's no way.
What?
49.73. Yeah, I think I had his projection a little too aggressive, you know what I mean?
I mean, how many minutes you got him for? 35?
36. And like that was me being aggressive. There's some people out there projecting him for like 38 and shit. I'm like, in what world? Like he went to that last game.
That was
It went to overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. You take those 5 minutes away. He played what, 37 at best. So maybe you can get away with 37, 38. Now that's what they did though. So I guess holla. I'll give him a little more than that. Then what's good? Where you at? Where you at, Whiteside? We'll go Sam for the 13.
37.
36 and a half. It shows up as 37 because it rounds, but 36 and a half. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because I mean, like Whiteside is obviously like a huge part of their, you know, it's not like in Miami where they played him out of sympathy. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, it's still long and hard. Long and hard. So how much Luka are you gonna try to play with the news that we have now?
More than I thought I was gonna.
Yeah. Happens. How much Trevor Ariza? Like, how much you gonna bite the bullet on that? Trevs.
Probably around 50.
It's hard not to.
I mean, it's
right?
a 3 slate, and like I need it.
Yeah, need it. Yeah, got it if you need it. Spoken if you got it. Whatever. I shouldn't have said that. YouTube's gonna flag us now. Watch. Put that. They're gonna be like, he said, smoke it. I'm telling you. That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
I mean, we got flagged for Whiteside.
Yeah, we did. We did get flagged for that once. Rajon Rondo, Kyle Kuzma remain probable.
You have any interest in Rondo as a value play?
A little bit, sure. I mean, I talked about it in the game by game. I think that there's like the floor is obviously really low. It's hard to project minutes wise, but yeah, I mean, I would think so. And now with McGee off the court, he might actually, you know, have to do a little something when he's playing in the second unit. You know what I mean?
He's like popping on Cruncher.
Oh yeah.
They got him for 5.4x.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right at his price, right? Ron Devious. Yeah, we got him at like we have him at like 5.6, so it's not that different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He figured, and that's with like 19 minutes or so, 19, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
That's so
long. I'm getting so much of these guys. It's like further center rotation.
So much of what guy?
So much of Howard and Allen and Whiteside. Like the three of them. Yeah. It's giving me so much. Oh yeah, gonna have to do some cap job, son. You know. See if there's any questions from the nation. Yeah, McGee is out, CJ's out. Yep.
You ain't getting no Howard?
What are you talking about?
You said I'm getting so much Whiteside and Allen.
No, I said Howard first. Howard, Whiteside, and yeah. Howard was the first one, son. If I run it raw,
yeah, okay. Yeah, give me all the Howard.
So T. Cameron wants to know about Anthony Davis. Might be an older quiz. 20 minutes ago, but I can reiterate.
I do like AD. I do. He'll be probably the lowest on stud on the slate.
Yeah, he's growing on me, man. And like I said, like I could see him playing some of them.
It's a phenomenal spot.
Yeah, man. Dirties.
Yeah.
Dirties could really be done here. Anything else come out? Let's see. Rondo, Kuzma probable. Dwight Howard will start. Yeah. Shit, man. The Lakers and Nets. That game mixed in with a little bit of Portland is what I'm getting the most of by far. Like, I'm getting a shit ton of LeBron. What you say?
How many minutes or what's your projection on Jared Allen?
I projected him for like 32 minutes, right? Which is probably conservative unless he gets into foul trouble. It's hard to envision him not playing more than that, like with no backup.
And what did that equate to? 32
about 35.9, which put him at like 6.1x.
Yeah,
now he's a low floor player. It's just the minute floor is so high. You know, like long and hard. I know. Like I've seen Cruncher and some of the other people had him projected even higher. And it's like, oof, that's long. It's also hard. Tough decisions. Somebody's got to do it though. What we got? We got like 19 minutes to lock. 3-game status. Nation, if you have questions, get them in. I'm going to scroll them through each platform to scrape some of them questions. So if you got them, get them in. Get them in if you got them.
Scrape them things.
Scrape them things all day. All day. All day. I guess at this point, I'll switch over to the injury feed. You guys don't have to look at our ugly mugs if you don't want to. Made some cool graphics.
Mugging
so you know. Let's go to that. Where's that at? Oh, holla running into roadblocks and shit. Holla. Oh shit, I'm clicking stuff. What's happening? Stuff's getting clicked on. What's happening? Oh. Shit just goes so slow sometimes, man. So slow. Alright, there we go. Alright, now I'll be showing you the Slack feed. Slack feed Nation. Boom. Holla. Read it yourself. Man, I need to find a way to play more centers.
Really?
I need more centers.
I cut everyone not named Allen, Davis, Whiteside, Marjanovic, and Howard out of my player pool.
I know, but I want to play more of them. You know what I mean? Like, I want more of them. More.
Okay. Let me see here. Fuck John Henson. I ain't playing Johnson. Is Thomas Bryant worth anything playing? No, right? He doesn't have forward eligibility.
Yeah, it's hard to envision him with a minutes limit over all these other ceiling ass motherfuckers.
Any interest in Larry Nance, who's been playing 24, 25, and 28 minutes and sort of dirty, not super dirty, but a little dirty.
Larry, I don't hate it on a 3-game slate. It's just, like I don't expect Nance to have the ceiling as some of the other guys around his area. Like again, Karis LeVert's around that price, but like I don't mind it either. Like if all those other guys sucked, Nance could definitely go for 30 and just in 25, 26 minutes and just be smooth about it, especially in this matchup. But it's nothing I'm going to be heavy on. You know what I mean? I got a question for you. What about Taurean Prince? Toilet paper. You would think he's just due for a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I mean,
foul trouble should be, concern, but
foul trouble is real.
Oh, it's real life. Let me see. What you want to be? Man.
Rock on with your bad self.
All right, now I'm gonna start. How much LeBron? Are you playing more LeBron than AD?
Probably around the same, to be honest.
Hard and long.
Maybe even more AD than LeBron.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that now, and I was like, interesting. That's how we do.
When's the last time Trevor Ariza has been 60% owned on a slate?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's scary too. I mean, Trevor Ariza's last 2 games, granted they were with Sacramento, but against Orlando on January 13th, he played 29 minutes and got an 8.25. The next game, only 19 minutes. It was against this team. It was against Dallas, actually. He got a 9.75 in 19 minutes. But the 3 games before that, he was smashing. When Bogdanovich was out, 36, 31, 33, doing 30s. So what his role is going to be, I don't know. How much Ariza are you going to play?
60%. Right? I just capped him at.
You feel like...
I mean, you just need him.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we just...
What's the best pivot off of him?
The best pivot off of him? I don't got one. I mean, who else is going to play 30-some minutes at that price?
You know what? The Nets may play like Kuroix a little bit more today.
They could. It's just a guess because it could be him. You would think that Joe Harris would get played a little bit too. And
well, I think Kuroix has the most size, is what I'm talking about.
I see. Like for playing some backup squad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did start 2 games ago, and
Yeah,
that was against Milwaukee. Right? You know,
that's
I'm
true.
guessing it was, for rebounding support against Giannis.
Giannis.
So I don't know.
What you going to do, girl? What you going to do tonight?
Do we have any lineups? Do we have their starting lineup?
Who, the Lakers? I mean,
Nets.
yeah, that's what I meant. I don't think so, but I'll confirm that. Confirm that action right now, bro. I'll confirm that action right now. I can't stop watching that YouTube guy, man. Yeah, it's so funny. The Cassidy Campbell dude. Oh my god, that thing is so funny. Nah, we don't
From the
have
Bay, but
from the Bay, but I'm white though. Nah, we don't have any lineup aside from Washington. They're the only ones who submitted one. Washington playing by the rules, gotta love it. In the nation's capital, gotta set a good example. You know what I mean? They gotta set a good one right there, son.
Is Isaac Bongs in that? No, he's gone now. All right, great.
Sick bongs.
I mean, so I'm still waiting on my best pivot off of what's his name? Answer.
Oh,
Tariq.
well, it has to be the same position or no?
No, but similar price, like
Gary
within
Trent.
like 400. Okay.
I think that's the guy.
Yeah.
Because like the 2 is still open. Somebody still has to play backup point guard. So him and Simons should both see at least mid 20s, if not upper 20s, maybe low 30s. So I think.
Yeah, I mean Trent's playing mad minutes, hasn't he?
Yeah. But keep in mind, Ariza was also not here. So like that was they were covering for Bazemore also.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now they're gonna have to split it a little bit. They're gonna have to share.
Yeah, they got between him and Simons.
Yeah, they have to share. Do you like Simons at all?
Not
Me
really.
either, man. That dude just showed no kind of ceiling. I mean, I think he has it in him. He just seems to be like, not quite there. You know who could sneakily benefit from this from McGee being out is Kuzma, right? Like he could do it on the sneaks.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They like playing him.
Yeah, they like the Kuz.
He's got fucking, unbleach his hair because he looks just
He
like
looks
a girl
ridiculous,
now.
yeah.
How skinny he is.
He does look a little ridiculous. It's a little cray, Don't like to judge.
Little gay.
Don't like to judge. A little cray. But, if that's how he wants to do it, then let him do it then. You want to do it big then? Do it big then, bro. You want to do it long style? We do it long style. The one thing I'll say about Dwight Howard that's annoying is, like, he has a thing with foul. He's so big that, like, sometimes, man, like, he gives somebody a little bump, they go flying, and then he gets called for a foul. Like, sometimes you could see, like, he wasn't even trying to go hard, and it just went long. And then you look at it on the camera, like in fast motion, the referee sees it and it was like, bro, that was hard and long. And you get a foul. Go look at his foul trouble, man. He motherfucker gets in foul trouble all the time. Drives me crazy, man. How much Jared Allen you playing? Like, give me your exposures for Howard, Allen, and Boban. In your head, like you're
Right.
rough. I know you haven't finished your crunch yet, but like in your
Yeah, so Howard, I'm thinking like 70s. Boban, I'm thinking between like 30 and 40, and Allen, I'm thinking like 25 to 30.
20, you're going a little underweight on Allen, sucking on hard and long. I mean,
it's not even a great price. Like Allen's a guy you want to buy in at 5K. Right? He's got a tough matchup against, AD's one of the best big defenders in the game. And Dwight Howard ain't no fucking walk in the park either. Like, McGee was the nice one. Like, that was where he would have done well. And now he's gone. So I see him struggling offensively. I see him getting the 10, 12 rebounds, and maybe a couple of those are tip-ins. Like, I don't see him getting much more than 30, and that's only 5X.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just rather play Boban at 3.9 and get the 5X there.
Yeah, I feel you.
And, that money on the other studs.
Okay, makes sense. It's like on that long and hard level. Now here, what's interesting about the situation, right? Is say like we obviously know the obvious, like Allen could get into foul trouble. Say Dwight Howard gets into foul trouble. Does Allen's matchup against then at that point Anthony Davis? We would think.
AD? No, it's horrible.
Is that worse?
Yeah, it's worse. AD's like one of the best big defenders there is.
Yeah, well, he's big athletic dude. More aggressive offensively too. I mean, I'm looking at my exposures and I'm like looking for something to disagree with, but I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, well, I guess I don't really know what I would change at this point. So, know what they say.
Yeah.
Unless you don't.
Smoke them if you got
That's it. All day. You know. We got news for tomorrow. Marvin Bagley, all this shit. They go, just suck it. You know what I mean?
I think we got a 10-gamer tomorrow.
10-gamer. Oh yeah, another biggin. That's right.
Yeah.
Love them biggins. Yo, do you like Dinwiddie at all?
Not much. No. Price is a little rough for like LeVert and Kyrie. Just gonna get usage over him, but if he was like 4.9, 4.8, where LeVert is, then I could start to get interested. But he's like $7K, right?
Yeah. He's at a weird price point.
Yeah.
So, like at shooting guard, who are your highest guys at the position? I'm assuming Gary Trent's one of them.
Tim Hardaway, Gary Trent, Joe Harris.
Oh God,
Brad
are we both playing like Tim Hardaway for real? Because I got like 30% Hardaway right now.
Yeah,
it's happening. Fuck.
Which yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't disagree. It's a uncomfortable thing. How much bill are you gonna play?
I put a 45 cap on him, so I'll probably get all that.
Yeah, the position's weak. From where you look at it, you can see weak. It's weak like Memphis Bleak.
What about Jordan McRae? Where you at with him?
Man, I'm tempted, man. I really am. Like, I think that I don't know why he hasn't been playing more minutes. He's clearly like the next best shooter outside of outside of Bertans and Beal. And they finally played him good minutes, even if you take away overtime. He still played like good 28, 29, 30 minutes or so. So I'm tempted. I got like 15% of him right now. And I think that's fine because I think it'll be so low owned that who's playing McRae today? Right? I don't think too many people are. So I got some. But I don't necessarily feel great about it. You have any Joe Harris?
Yeah.
How much?
30.
Yeah, that's what I have to. The usage has been fine, man. His usage is in the 20s. He's just not hitting his shots. But if you know how it is. He hits some shots. And it's party time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Party.
It's a party, yes.
Come on, baby, doing that Sundays now. How about Garrett Temple? Any love for a thug?
Hell no. I mean, I don't mind it. I'm just not gonna play him. That dude. But I mean, yeah, especially for your build, if you're trying to get as many stars as you can into a team, take it all you can get. He's one of those guys that like exactly what you said. You know what I mean? Like you're looking, even if they give you the 5x instead of the 4x, like it was more about they let you play like Luka and LeBron or something. So he would fit in that that concept. Monitoring hard.
Give me that, all that Dame. Ish or Isaiah Thomas. Any interest in either, both, neither?
I don't know Isaiah Thomas is the one I'm likely to have more of. Just being honest, just because of the situation at hand. But I prefer Ish. Like if I was building lineups by hand, I'd prefer Ish. It's hard to project Ish for anything too significant. You know what I mean? But I'm
Right.
gonna hear some though. You know, it's true.
Had
You
that.
know, Dilly Willy,
All right.
Dilly Willy Willy.
Damn, 5 minutes to lock.
4 minutes to lock, bro. Time traveling ass.
Whoa.
Time traveling ass on them.
Whoa.
That's right, man.
Don't do that.
Oh, it's been brought. What's that? Bring it. It's been brought. It was from some kind of movie. It was cool. I thought it was cool. Maybe it wasn't that cool.
I don't think it was that cool.
Nah, you're probably right though. Fuck it. Boom, cloud action. So you playing what, 70, Dwight? You getting heavy on him?
Yeah. There's like nothing on this at 3-game slate.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know, it's whack. It is true. Take it to whack, Donald's.
Yeah, take it to
I feel you. I do. Yeah, you got a shit ton of Boban still? Still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you Boban.
35. I mean, it's not a shit ton. 35.
It's a shit ton on 3 games. It's a shit ton, son. Good luck
On a
to
3-game slate?
Yeah, man. It's a, dedication to the nation. You know what it is. You know what it
I got
is.
more Kristaps than I thought I was gonna get, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I think I have like 1% Kristaps right now.
I have 40.
Damn, son. Damn. Son. You on all kinds of that shit, man.
I don't know if I'm gonna get it in time.
I know what you mean. The scramble is real, bro. Scramble is real. It's that sugar fly honey bun shit. I'm about to just have to sit with whatever I get next because I'm not gonna sit here and jack around and potentially put myself in one of them situations again. I got nothing. 2 minutes to lock, nation. Get with it. Horde.
What game locks at 7?
The Washington game. You know it. Alright. Got my upload, scrub load. You know. Who is the number one lock for sure? Oh, we got some questions now. You guys ask questions too late, bro. We got teams to build. Who is the number one lock for sure? Who would be your like your favorite player in the slate this week? Dwight Howard. Yeah. Who's backing up Allen? Nobody's backing up Allen. That's what it seems like. Hardaway or Simon? I go Hardaway. I think Paulie does too.
Yeah.
Paulie. Oh, MG be watching that shit too, man. I'm from the Bay. I'm white though. That's what he writes. Damn, you fine as hell.
I bet. I like when he goes into the classroom and he's like, I don't understand none of this shit. You got me fucked up.
You got me fucked up. Bro, I'm looking at
Like,
MG says he is Cash in DFS.
He is of course. Yeah.
Except Cash is really like that. Like Cash is real.
Yeah.
He's the real. Truism.
All right, so here's the exposures. I got 79% Dwight Howard, 53 Ariza, 53 LeVert, 40 Porzingis. I don't know how he became my fourth highest player. 39 LeBron, 31 Lillard, 35 Kyrie, Luka 27, Boban 35, Brad Beal 21. I got everyone I wanted. Jared Allen I ended up only getting 15% of.
Ooh, wow, 15, son. Well, that could be really good or really bad. You know what I mean? Like, jelly
really, that
beans.
could have been fun. If he was 5K, I'd have played the shit out of him. 6K.
Who?
Jared Allen.
Oh, yeah, Allen.
Honestly, like, I would say that
I'm underweight, too. I got 35%, so I'm assuming I'm underweight.
Better.
So I feel you on that specifically. But that is going to do it, nation. We are at lock. You're going to get up out of here. 3-game slate, but tomorrow we got a big one, so we'll be starting 2 hours before lock once again with the game-by-game breakdown. Anything in closing for the nation, Paulie?
No, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Do the dirty to yourself before your neighbor does it to you.
And holla at that play when you see him in the street. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.